The facts that you are talking about, what are the sources of that? The Elon Musk, suppose he changed name to Blob Smith. Do you think would it be he's still a billionaire or trillionaire?
There's two colors that dominate the richest people. Purple, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, the list goes on in my book.
Suppose if I change my legal name, suppose right now it's Samir Mystery, if I change to Elon Mystery, do you think that it's changed my destiny too? No. So there is another person who has the same name as mine. Do you think he has the same personality? How would I know that the person or the girlfriend I should choose, what would be the best name?
Okay.
What to do for my soulmate?
Yeah. I got a feeling more about your podcast. And what I think you're trying to do is to educate people on being more peaceful.
Correct.
And more education, to get new knowledge, to be a better person, a more peaceful, balanced person.
Welcome to another insightful episode of GupshupAurGyan. Today, we dive into fascinating world where your name is more than just an identity. It holds the power to shape your personality, relationship, and even a success. Our guest is BP Greycastle, the mind behind the Name Colorology, a unique system that connects a name with the colors to reveal the hidden aspect of our lives. With the decades of experience in the fashion and entertainment industries, he is here to share how understanding your name's color can unlock new possibilities. So stay tuned for an eye-opening conversation.
So hello sir, welcome to GupshupAurGyan. How are you today?
Okay, and thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I'm really glad to have you on my show, and I was really excited to discuss about the colorology and how the name or the color that can show my personality. So it would be really great to have you.
Okay, well, thank you. Okay, yeah. And I always have to remind people when I'm on their show. I just got an email, another podcast wants me on, and she is calling it colorology.
Okay.
And I have to let them know it's name colorology.
Name colorology.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, name colorology.
So let me start with the same questions.
Okay.
What do you mean exactly by the name colorology, and how does the color and the name change my life?
Okay. Well, I find it's best if I explain exactly how name colorology works. And then it answers a lot of questions as we go along. Okay. First of all, it's a proven fact that all sounds give up a color wavelength vibration. That's a proven fact. You can look it up. You can Google it. It's a proven fact we have water in our body. It's a proven fact that we have crystals in our inner ear, and we have crystals in our brain. So my theory is every time someone calls you your name, you're getting subliminal color wavelength vibrations that are going into your inner ear cochlea gland. Crystals are picking them up and sending them to your thalamus gland in your brain. Your thalamus gland in your brain is what I call the grand central station gland of the brain. And if you go on medical sites where endocrinologists will tell you basically the same thing, that your thalamus is your relay station. It takes in the information from your five senses, or except for sight. And then it coordinates it with your pituitary gland. And then your pituitary gland sends out the different information to your other hormones, endocrine glands, to release certain hormones. So every time somebody calls your name, you're getting those subliminal color wavelength vibrations. It's going into your inner ear, to your thalamus, and then the rest of your endocrine glands. And so the different colors determine your personality and character trait of all the seven endocrine gland, or what the Eastern philosophies from the Hindu philosophers called the chakra centers.
Chakras, right.
And I call them spiritual, mental, vocal, physical, control, emotional, and sexual.
Okay.
Okay?
So you start from the top.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Now I have 3 or 4 explanations of the function of all those 7 centers, which I'll talk about as we go along.
Okay.
Okay. Now the Hindus actually started talking about the 7 chakra centers about 1,500 years ago. Western medical only started talking about the 7 endocrine glands back in about 1841. So to me, it's amazing that the Hindu philosophers even knew that these 7 centers existed. But what I disagree with them is I believe they're unknowingly actually talking about the 7 endocrine glands.
Okay.
Okay. Now, so every time somebody calls your name, it's a repetitious thing. You've been called your name maybe 30,000 times in your life. Every day of your life, almost somebody calls you your name. So it's a repetition of every day getting those subliminal color wavelength vibrations are really laying the foundation of your personality of those 7 centers. And the way I prove all this is with data.
Okay.
Okay. I think me and you talked before where I explained that someone just won the Nobel Peace Prize in physics a couple of years ago. And he was asked by an interviewer, what helped you make this discovery? And he says, I follow my dad's advice. And she says, what was that advice? And he said, my dad told me to follow the data. He says, I followed the data, I made my discovery. So data is usually very important when you're trying to find the right answer to something or discover something. So let me explain the functions of the 7 centers.
Okay.
Okay. Your spiritual center, or what the Hindus would call the crown chakra.
Okay.
Now, I'm not an endocrinologist, I'm not a doctor, so I have to say, when I say anything about the endocrine glands, I'm only referring to where they're basically at. If someone has any problems with any health problems, or they think they have any problems with the endocrine glands, they need to go see a doctor.
Okay.
So the crown chakra, or what I call the spiritual center, is where your pineal endocrine gland is. Now in my book I have 3 charts, and I show that these 7 endocrine glands, these 7 chakra centers, and what I call the 7 personality centers are all in the same place. Almost exactly in the same place. So that should lead someone to say, is there any connection between them? So that's where, again, I prove with data. Okay, let me explain the functions of those 7 centers. Okay, going back to the spiritual center, or the crown chakra, or the pineal, I say the function is that, as I also call it, your genius center, your open-minded and eventful center, where you search for ideas, you become open-minded. If a person is not open-minded about something, they're never going to make a discovery in any field that they're trying to find the answer to, a new discovery, a new invention. You have to have an open mind that is possible, and you have to be very versatile in your thinking and open-minded. So I call it the genius center. I also call it your moral center, or your religious center, if you're religious, where your moral personality of right and wrong. Let your conscience be your guide. So it's where we get our moral personality. Okay. Now let's go to the mental center. What I call the mental center, your intellectual or logical center, where you get your common sense, analytical abilities. Once your genius, creative, imaginative center comes up with these ideas, then your mental center logically figures out, will this work in a practical way? Okay. Now the Hindus call it the brow chakra. Okay. And it's where your pituitary endocrine gland is. Okay. Okay. So now the vocal center, which the Hindus call the throat chakra, and where your thyroid endocrine gland is. Okay. The functions of that center is to be harmonious with yourself or other people. It is where people that have become singers or ventriloquists, using your vocal to become harmonious. It's also, I call your organizing center, where you organize yourself, mind, body, and soul. It's as far as color goes, it's a good color for you to decorate a room in your home to feel in harmony and getting things in order, neat, organized. So it's an organizing center. So those are basically the functions of that center. Okay. Now your heart chakra, which the Hindus call the heart chakra, is where your major thymus gland is. It's what I say your physical center. It's the functions of that center is to be compassionate, forgiving, kind, warm. It's also our physical center. People that cultivate that center are usually either very physical, they like to exercise, run, lift weights, football players, baseball players, things like that. Or people that are very warm, very kind, very giving. And so people that tend to operate off that center will usually be involved in those situations. And getting back to your mental center and your creative center, people that operate off their genius, creative, spiritual center, they'll be very, very open to spiritual philosophies. They'll be inventors. They'll be geniuses. And the mental center type people will be very practical and common sense and with their decisions, maybe about their job, how to go about things. Okay, now let's get back to your control center, which the Hindus call the solar plexus.
That is in belly, right? Nearby belly?
What's that?
It's nearby your stomach?
It's above your stomach.
Yeah, okay.
It's right here.
Yeah.
Now, let me give you an example. In the military, when they say stand at attention, some of them will say stick your chest out and throw your shoulders back. Well, actually, what you're doing is you're lifting your solar plexus.
Correct.
Right here. A good example, I don't know if you ever seen the movie A Yule Brenner, where he used to put his hands on his hips and stick out like this.
Yeah.
It's our power center, our regal center, our center of being authoritative, dignified. It's I also call it our corporate center. When we're in control, authoritative. Whenever you see a businessman wearing a business suit, they want to be more formal, more dignified, more to look more in control, more authoritative. So your adrenals are also okay. I said the Hindus call them the solar plexus. I call it our control center.
Okay.
When we're in control, we feel as if we can handle something. Okay. It's also our not our pancreas, but our adrenal endocrine gland area.
Okay.
It's called the fight or flight gland. If you feel like you can handle something, you say, I can handle that. I can deal with it. I can fight it. But let's say you're standing on a railroad track and a train is coming at you. Your adrenals or your personality, if you're operating off your control center, say, I can't control that. I've got to get off these tracks. So they call it the fight or flight. So people that cultivate and operate off that center will be very dignified, very in control, very businesslike, and very empowered. So those are some of the words I use to describe in the functions of that center. That's a very key center as far as finding a romantic soulmate, which we will talk about later.
Yeah.
Okay, then you have your pancreas, endocrine gland, where your belly button is. And it's your emotional center.
Okay.
Okay. The Hindus call it the navel chakra. Okay. This is where our emotions are at. I call it your romantic center, your emotional center, your feminine center, your relaxed center, your contentment center. The only time anyone is ever really contented is when they find a romantic soulmate. That makes them feel relaxed, contented. They're contented with who they're with. So I call it the contentment center also. If you use your emotional center color, which I will tell you about in a while, you decorate a room in your emotional center color. When you walk in that room, the stress will just start to peel off of you, and you'll feel more relaxed, more contented. It's very, very helpful in that way. So I always stress for people to, if they have a lot of stress in their life, to do either their bedroom or a certain room where in their emotional center color and go in there to relax, or even to, a good room to sleep, because you have to kind of relax to fall asleep usually.
But that is common. That is common for all person?
No.
No.
If you ask me the common color, no.
Okay.
But the common function of it, yes. But not the same color.
Okay.
That's the other thing I disagree with the Hindu philosophers.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly what it is, but they say that all these 7 chakra centers have the same colors for everybody. And I absolutely disagree with that. It depends on your name. And I'll tell you how that works.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you right now. Okay, the first sounding letters in your first and last name are your spiritual center that we first talked about, your creative genius, your moral center, where you look youthful and wholesome and moral and happy and cheerful. That's another word I use for your crown chakra or your spiritual center, where you feel happy and cheerful and moral. You look clean and wholesome. Okay. So so we're at the emotional center. Okay. So no, it's different with everybody. Actually, your emotional center color is a letter that you don't have in your name.
Okay.
Okay. You don't have any, for example, just one of them. I think you have 2 or 3 emotional center colors. Blue is one of your emotional center colors.
Okay.
So is red. Pronounce your last name again.
Mystery. Mistry.
Mystery?
Yeah.
Yeah, mystery. Okay, you don't have any blue letters, which are N, G, and U sounding letters in your name. You don't have any red letters, which are C, J, Q, or X's. And I think you had one more. Well, I'll think about it later.
Okay.
But now, if I were to tell you to decorate your home, a room where you want to relax in red, a lot of people say, well, red's supposed to be aggressive color.
Right. Yeah, I heard many that it is called the mythologists or the astrologers. They said never keep your color red in the bedroom, especially because it's fast color and it shows the aggression.
Yeah, say that last part.
It shows the aggression.
No. That's all old philosophy. Okay. That's what I call 1950 color philosophy. The reason why red at first might seem aggressive is because you see red from the back part of your eye. The lens is in your back part of your eye, and it tries to focus it in, and it pulls it in. The reason why they say blue is transcending is the lenses in your eye pick up blue from the front part of your eyes, and it tries to push it back. Within a few seconds, maybe 5-10 seconds, your eyes adjust to whatever color we're talking about, and then that effect is no longer. The colors that you don't have in your name become your emotional center color. I've counseled men that say they're having a hard time communicating with women. And a lot of times men try to intellectualize or to use power, force, and women just cut that off. They block it out. It's like telling a young child all the time, you can't do this, you can't do that. If you want to communicate with a woman, first thing to do is say, honey, I want to communicate with you emotionally. When they hear that word emotional, that all of a sudden opens them up. Then you have their attention.
Correct. I agree.
And if you're wearing their emotional center color, boom, that even intensifies it. And if you express yourself of the character traits of that particular color, you've unlocked their attention.
Correct.
They're ready to listen to you and work with you.
Yeah.
So now your wife, since she doesn't have any orange letters, like I say, I'd wear orange and use those words. Say, honey, I want to talk to you emotionally. And then talk to them in an emotional way, not so much an intellectual way. Just say, I want to express my emotions to you. You got it. That's just, your emotional center is your romantic center. It's what they call the soul center. And I believe when you wear that orange and do those other things I told you to do, I believe, this is just as my theory. Again, I have to say I'm not an endocrinologist. And I want to hopefully work with some universities in the future to test my theory by possibly measuring people's hormone secretions as we use my color theory. But I believe this time that my theory is correct, that she will be releasing hormones from her pancreas endocrine gland and stimulating her emotional center. Okay, because what happens is when you wear that orange, unconsciously, her eyes are going to see that color and send it back to her brain, her thalamus gland again.
Okay.
And it's going to do a computer check and say, oh, which one of these centers does that color affect? And then through its memory, and it'll get the message, oh, that's my emotional center color, and probably send that message to your pituitary, then tells your emotional center to release hormones. So now all this stuff about the relay of the thalamus and the pituitary and endocrine glands being released, you can look that up on Google, and you'll find basically what I'm saying is true as far as the functions of those endocrine glands. It won't say anything about my color theory or anything. Okay, so now the type of people that operate off their emotional center are the ones that make most of their decisions emotionally. And that can be a problem too. A lot of people that have addictions, as far as my theory goes, I believe are operating mainly off their emotional center. And they're not using their common sense intellectual center, or maybe their moral center. So my theory is when a person operates off a particular center on a regular basis, I think they are releasing hormones from that center, and they're becoming addicted to their own hormones, and that's why it's so hard for them to change their habits. Okay.
But how the normal person should know about the color of that emotional chakra? How would I know that what is my color?
Okay. First of all, they'd have to get my book.
Okay.
Or consult with me. My book goes from chapter to chapter. It'll tell you the spiritual center chapter will tell you that the first letters in your first and last name are your spiritual center colors. The second letter in your first and last name are your mental center colors, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
And then it has a 3-part chart. It has a 3-part chart that shows you the alphabet of all the letters that are attuned to the 7 centers and the letters in the alphabet. It's called the letter color chart, and it shows you, for example, the flesh spectrum is A, H, O, and V letters. The purple is B, I, P, and W. Red is C, J, Q, and X. D, K, orange, D, K, R, and Y, and so on with the other colors. So the book tells you how to figure out which one of your colors are attuned to your different centers.
So that are all the initials of that letter. Suppose my S belongs to yellow color, right?
S?
Yes. So my first initial S belongs to.
You're a yellow spiritual person. The first letter in your first name is S, which is a yellow letter. Yellow letters are E, L, S, and Z. Now in your second name, the M. M is a green letter, which are F, M, and T. So not only are you a yellow spiritual center, you're also a green spiritual center person.
Okay.
And as I told you earlier, I've looked at your name a little bit more. Now, if you were to come to me, let's say when you were younger or even now, and you ask me, what's a good career choice for me? I'd say, well, you make a good salesperson, a good teacher, psychologist, psychiatrist, from your first name, from that first S. Those would be some of the good career choices for you from your first name. But then I looked at your name a little bit more, and you have a lot of green letters in your name, which are F, M, and T. You have that M at the end of Sam, or Samir,
Hmm.
and then say your last name.
Hmm.
Tell me your
Mystery.
now. Huh?
Mystery. Mystery.
Yeah, so you have a M that starts at the first letter.
Yeah.
So I see you have green attuned to 2 or 3 of your centers. So I have 3 ways that I really analyze a person's name. First, I look at their general spiritual, moral, imagination, enthusiasm center, ground chakra. That usually plays a general good effect on, what their personality is. Then I look to see if they have any doubles, any double color to any of their 7 centers.
Okay.
So if somebody's like a double orange mental center person, that tells me there's a very good chance that the color character traits of that color is having a strong effect on their personality. Then I also look to see if like 4 or 5 of their centers are attuned to one particular color. That has a big effect too on what color character traits that they have got in the habit of operating off of. Okay. So now talking about your green, I think you would have been a green people that operate off a green center are on the good side. They can be very peaceful, very balanced, very lawful. And I show in my book that most of the people that won the Nobel Peace Prize in peace. No, the Nobel Peace Prize in peace, being a peacemaker.
Okay.
Are green spiritual people, and I list a whole bunch of them. Okay. They just totally dominate that. Also, the most famous lawyers are green spiritual people whose first or last name start with M, F, M, or T. Okay. Again, I show in my book where they list a lot of names of green spiritual people that are the most famous lawyers, architects, like I say, peacemakers, pro quarterbacks. Look at, let me see, I have a little list here. I've made a little list. I'll give you some of them. Who are the 3 or 4 best quarterbacks of all time? Tom Brady, see the T, first letter. Joe Montana, first letter in his second name, the M. Patrick Mahomes, the M, first letter. And the list goes on and on and on. And architects, Frank Lloyd Wright, the green. Julia Morgan, the M. Frank Gehry, Frank Furness, and the list goes on and on and on. I had some critics say that, well, it sounds like you're just dropping people's names. Well, of course I'm dropping people's names. That's how a scientist proves his theory is if you can show that 95% of people that are the most famous mathematicians have a certain letter, first letter in their name, well, doesn't that tell you something? I mean, it should be investigated. So there's so much data in my book where I show 95% of your most famous physicists, lawyers, architects, singers, writers, doctors, the list goes on and on, is because of a certain color to a certain one of their centers.
Okay.
Now, so have you ever thought about being a lawyer or an architect or a peacemaker? Do you like going around quiet, peaceful environments, a lot of trees, and you live in? Do you like going up into the forest? Where it's,
Yes, I like it.
Yeah, peaceful and quiet. Yeah. Most green spiritual people I've interviewed, they love going in quiet, peaceful, green environments.
Yeah. I like to go in a forest.
Yeah. Well, I can say I know that, you know.
Yeah.
What about ever becoming a teacher, an educator, salesperson? You know, I watched one of your shows with Richard Ramus, and he talks about how to communicate with kids. And he's very smart in a very practical, intellectual way of how to communicate with kids. Well, I got a feeling more about your podcast. And what I think you're trying to do is to educate people on being more peaceful.
Correct.
And more education to get new knowledge, to be a better person, a more peaceful, balanced person. That's another key. That's another key word with the green people is balance. That's why they make good architects. In order to build a house, you have to know how the weight and the structure will stand up. You know, that won't tilt to one side and fall over or something. So they're very green people are very much in wanting to balance their personality, mind, body, and soul. They want balance in their life. They want peace in their life. Those are the positive traits. Now I haven't talked about any of the negative about any of the color types. On the very negative side, green spiritual people can get in trouble with the law.
But do you feel, suppose if there is another person who has the same name as mine, do you think he has the same personality?
No, they have the ability to have both the positive and the negative. Now, what I talk a lot about in my book, or when I'm speaking, is we've been just talking about how the colors and name colorology affects you. What's the other big picture? You know what the other big picture is? And you probably heard a lot of people talk about is environmental factors. Who your parents were, where you grew up. Did you grow up in a poor neighborhood where all the other kids were in gangs? Did you grow up in where your family was very rich and educated? Did your parents pass along good genes to you, where you're tall and handsome, or what about the diet that your parents exposed you to?
Correct.
What about the books you've read? You know, other people can affect the direction of your life, whether you go towards the good or bad. So environmental factors are the other part of it. So when you ask me, is one Sam going to be the same as another Sam? There's a lot of factors that go into that. Would you say your parents were? Did they help you along your path, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so there's another example I give is, let's say you have one girl that's named Carol, and another girl named Carol. Well, this one Carol, she's beautiful. She's very attractive, and she goes to school. All the men want to date her and talk to her, and she becomes more confident about her looks. And you have the other Carol that is unattractive, and let's say the boys make fun of her. So that's gonna affect not only her personality as far as having confidence or being depressed emotionally, or whether or not she's happy or unhappy. So you know, then these different environmental factors are gonna have her a different personality than the attractive Carol, or the Carol that everybody tells her how good looking she is and things like that. Or again, like I say, what books you read, who your parents were, where you grew up. Environmental factors affect you a lot.
Okay, so if I'm talking about the Elon Musk, suppose he changed name to Blob Smith, do you think would it be he's still a billionaire or trillionaire?
You're talking about the
Elon
richest
Musk.
people.
Yeah, richest people.
Okay, in my book, I show who the richest people are.
Yeah.
There's two colors that dominate the richest people. Purple, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett. The list goes on in my book. BIPs and Ws are purple spiritual people. Okay. Bill Gates, the B there. Warren Buffett, the W. BIP and Ws. If you go on and you do a Google for the richest people in the world, you're going to find the majority are purple spiritual people. Okay. Now, it used to be flesh spectrum spiritual people whose names started with A, H, O, or V. Okay. Now, the reason why I think that's they're still in there. Those are the two that are richest, but the purple are the most now. The reason why I think the flesh people have kind of taken a second place is long time ago they used to the richest people used to just dominate one field, like Henry Ford, cars. Now, like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, they tend to, they know how to monopolize things. That's one of the key words in the purple spectrum I talk about. Purple people are very, very dedicated to their jobs, very detail oriented. They'll be the first one on the job and the last one to leave. They're very detailed. They're very image conscious. And like Larry Bird, the basketball player, his other players used to say that after practice was over, he would practice another 2 or 3 hours. They are very detail oriented, and they're hard workers. Now, they interviewed Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, and she asked them, give me one word, which is a clue to success. And she talked to them at different times, and they both came up with the same exact word, and that was focus. Another word for focus is repetition. Keep focused on something. If you want to be a good musician, play music every day or almost every day. You want to be a good basketball player, play basketball repetitiously over and over. A long time ago, it used to, the phrase was practice makes perfect. Purple people know how to monopolize things. And like Amazon, it started out just as selling books. And then they got the idea, okay, if we can sell, they were selling every book out there. If you wanted a book, you could find it on Amazon. So then they said, well, let's monopolize other things. Let's sell dishwashers or what. Now they sell everything. They monopolized. So that's one of the reasons why purple people, a couple of reasons why purple spiritual people are the richest. And so now I think we forgot about the sexual center. Yeah. They call after the stomach that we went to a different topic. Yeah. So people, your sexual center is what the Hindus call the root chakra. Right. it's what I call the sexual center or the survival center. I also say it's our grounding survival center. Now, as far as the endocrinologist, for women, it's the ovaries. For men, it's the testes. So the function of our sexual center is, to be sexual, have sex. And it's also our grounding center, where we ground ourselves, where we have to survive very tough situations. For example, let's say you lost your job and your car broke down and you don't have enough money to pay your bills. Then unknowingly you kick into your survival center, where you have to ground yourself in effect and say, hey, I can't think about going out and seeing a movie or anything, or I can't, just lay around. I've got to figure out how to survive this tough situation. So that's the other function of our sexual center.
Okay.
Now, if you want to stimulate your wife sexually, you find out what the last sounding letter in her first and last names are, and you wear that color, or you decorate a room in that color, and believe me, it'll stimulate them sexually. Okay. Or if you get in a tough situation, you want to go to that color to ground yourself. And I know I can remember a couple of women saying that Willie Nelson was sexy because he was so earthy. And you hear that term earthy when somebody talks about somebody being sexy. They're so sexy in an earthy way. Remember, so I call it the earth center too, where you ground yourself, and become more earthy.
Right.
Very, very focused on just what you got to do to survive.
So the woman or the man who are in anxiety or the depression, that what should the colors they should wear, or what should be the bedroom or the house color? What should be the color
if they're depressed? Okay. Well, they want to go with the lighter end of the spectrum. Lighter colors are when we gravitate towards lighter colors. When we like lighter colors versus true or darker colors, we're usually in a happier, more cheerful mood. Things are going well for us. Okay. So they would want to use their spiritual center color. Remember I was saying our spiritual center is our happy, cheerful center? So they would want to decorate in their spiritual center colors. For you, your yellows, maybe a light yellow or light greens. Remember I told also green is your other spiritual center color. And and as far as getting rid of the depression, we would have to find out what they're depressed about, Maybe now we're going to go into a little more environmental theft, what's making them depressed. Okay. Do they have a bad knee that's always bothering them, that's depressing them? Has their boyfriend just left them? Or, there's all kinds of different environmental effects that can make you feel depressed. So you have to find out where the depression is coming from. But as far as the colors of decorating your home, you want to go with your spiritual center colors. And you can also use your vocal harmony center. Remember I was saying your vocal center is where you bring yourself back into harmony, mind, body, and soul. So maybe physically you have some sort of illness that's causing you to be depressed or not happy or, worried. Let's say you're not making enough money and you're not able to pay your bills. Well, or emotionally, like I say, let's say somebody's boyfriend or girlfriend just left them for somebody else who was cheating on them, and it made you emotionally upset. So you have to use your analytical skills, your mental center, to say, okay, what is the problem, and how do I bring myself back into harmony?
Correct.
And so maybe what you can do is then use your harmony vocal center color to make you be able to figure out, how do I bring myself back into harmony?
Okay.
How do I forget about this person that has just left? How do so those are two of the center colors I would tend to use if you have depression. But there's like I say, there's a lot of environmental factors that have to be put into it.
So as you said that your name is linked to the energy, right? Now what about the nickname? So mostly that the persons are calling by the nickname, call the Michael call Mike.
Yeah.
I get Samir call Sam.
I talk all about that in my book. I get that all the time. I get the question of, well, what happens when a woman gets married and she changes her name?
Correct.
I get that all the time. Also, changing your name to make yourself more romantically attracted to each other in a relationship. I talk about that. So, yeah, when you first start reading my book, I explain that you have to analyze your name phonetically, not necessarily how it's spelled, but the way it actually sounds. Again, using the name Carol, is spelled with a C. Well, if you look on my color chart in my book, C is a red letter, but that C does not phonetically sound to C. What does it sound to? Carol. What does it sound to you? That C.
It's like a K.
A K.
Yeah.
Now, if you look in the letter color alphabet chart in my book, you see that K is an orange letter. So when that person that's being called Carol should not analyze it as a red, she should analyze it as an orange letter. Instead of her being a red spiritual person, she actually is an orange spiritual person.
So you should go with the phonetic sound, right?
Yeah, you have to go the phonetic sound of all the letters. And also, I say you have to, how about Einstein? Albert Einstein. Spell his last name to me.
Albert Einstein.
No, just the last name.
The E start with E.
E-I, right?
I,
the first
correct.
two letters. Does that E sound?
No.
Einstein. It doesn't sound. It's silent.
Yeah.
The first sounding letter is I, not an E, but it's spelled with the E. So you don't count the E because you're not hearing it. You're not getting those color subliminal color wavelength vibrations coming in.
Okay.
So it doesn't count. So it's very important. I have people that buy my book and they don't want to read all the, if you want to say technical part of it. You have to, otherwise you'll analyze your name wrong. And it tells you how before a syllable break in your name is your power color, and then after your syllable break becomes your heart, physical center. So you have to read the instructions first. And then it gets into telling you the character traits of all the colors and the character traits and the functions of the 7 centers. So can't skip the first part. Otherwise you'll analyze your name wrong. Guaranteed.
Okay. So suppose if I change my legal name, suppose right now it's Samir Mystery. If I change to Elon Mystery, do you think that it's changed my destiny too?
No. What matters again is what you're hearing. You have to go by what you're hearing. A lot of people are named Robert. Their official name is Robert. But probably 50% of the time, everybody calls them Bob.
Correct.
So you have to go by Bob. Now, You could have your business name on your business cards or something, or in your website, but hardly anybody is calling you Robert versus Bob. You got to go by Bob's. So it matters what you hear most. If let's say you want to become a physicist. Remember I was telling you 95% of your most famous physicists. In my book and on my video on my website, namecolorology.com, you watch a video. I show that 95% of your most famous physicists are purple spiritual people like Einstein and Sir Isaac Newton that have won the Nobel Peace Prize in Physics since 1902 to present. 95% of them. And then in my book, I show another 2 or 3 pages of the most famous physicists that are purple spiritual people, or their names are totally dominated by purple letters. Okay. For example, they might be a double purple mental center person, or 4 or 5 of their centers have a purple attuned to them.
And maybe they did not aware of this because their parents keep that name, right?
Okay. Yeah, I get that one too. All right. You got a great smile there. Okay. That's another environmental factor. People will say, well, how can my name affect me? I didn't have any choice.
Correct.
Well, what choice did you have of getting hormones? I mean, not hormones, but your parents were tall, and you become tall too. You know, genes is the word. Genes got passed to you,
right?
Versus being blonde or dark hair, or again living your parents being rich, or you're living in a poor country in Africa versus in a rich home in New York or something. What choices do you have of those? Let's say somebody is born with polio. What choice do they have of that?
Correct.
You know, but whether or not you had those choices, they still affect you, and you still have to deal with them. Now, if you want to get into the real spiritual stuff, have you ever read any near-death experience books where people have died on the operating table or hit by lightning and died, pronounced dead, and then they said they went to heaven, and then they were revived? And there's thousands of people that have had near-death experiences.
Stephen Hawking? Stephen Hawking?
Did he? I'm not sure about him, but I've read quite a few. But there are a lot of people. Just you can go on Google and type in near-death experiences, and there's all kinds of people that have books. And that's another thing about color. But a lot of them, they say when they went to heaven, they were told that they chose their life here on earth. How it was going to be, they chose their own life because there were certain things they were supposed to learn.
Correct.
Okay? And the other thing, please, I ask everybody, go watch some of the near-death experience things on YouTube. The movies on YouTube. I have never heard any of them not talk about colors that they saw in heaven.
Oh, okay.
Never, not once. They all say how beautiful the colors are in heaven, and there are more colors in heaven that we have here on earth. And they say there are beings of life that are color up there. They talk a lot about color. And so I always like to throw that in. And so, yeah, getting back to what we were talking about is the environmental effects of why people call you, the name they pick for you.
Okay.
So with my theory, let's say you have a new baby, or even before the baby is born, you can determine whether they would be a good doctor, a lawyer, a peacemaker, a singer, a writer, by the name that you're going to pick for them.
Okay.
And I know on the show with Richard Ramus, that was his name. You had him on your show. Do you remember him?
No.
No? Okay. Well, Richard Ramus, he talks a lot about how to deal with young people, how to communicate with them.
Okay.
Okay. And he was talking about a parent has to find out what a child's, where their passion is, where their enthusiasm, or what they want to do, not necessarily what the parent wants them to do or become. So with my philosophy, as soon as you know what your kid's name is, or what name you've already named them, you can unlock where his passion is, where his genius, his creativity. Remember I was telling you about your crown chakra or your spiritual pineal endocrine gland, where your genius, imagination is. So it's kind of like I was saying to you about your green spiritual, like going into the mountains and the peaceful environments. That's another thing I show in my book, that green spiritual people dominate. They're the most famous environmentalists. John Muir, see the M there? First letter in his last name. And I list hundreds of them. Go ahead.
Do you agree that the persons are choosing their business name is also affected with their own name? Or they should select on the basis of that name, or what are the colors of that basis of the chakras? They have to select what kind of a business name.
Okay, what you're kind of saying to me is, again, I'm going to go to my book. I say that by knowing the knowledge of colors and what image they project, you can use it in your design of like your website, or if you have printed material, you send out to people what colors to use. And let's say that you want your company, people to think that your company has a good image. Then you would want to use some purple in let's say your business card or your sign you have outside your store or on your website. Let's say you want people to think you give good service. You want to use a light blue. Blue is a color of dependability, trustworthiness, serviceability. You want to use a light blue. Let's say you wanted people to think you're honest. Okay. Red is the color of being truthful, compassionate, honest. So you want to use certain reds. So yeah, what colors you use in the message you're trying to send out, the image you're trying to send out, or what your business is about, or what service you're giving to them. You definitely, once you read my book, you'll find out all the character traits of the colors.
According to my podcast, what do you think? What is the best color for me?
For your podcast, did you say?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, from what I'm seeing right now, where you're at in the colors, it's you're wearing black, and it looks like your walls are either black or very dark, and then you have some white there on the air. So, and then you have some yellow in there. Yeah. So, what it's kind of unconsciously telling people is you're a good listener. Whenever you want somebody to listen to you, well, what I do is I tell them, sometimes when you talk to people, they're not good listeners, and you have to kind of explain things to them over and over. I tell them, please just imagine you're in a black space. Just blank everything out in black. Black is very consuming. Very quiet. It's so your background there and everything is, I think people would listen very well. Okay. And then you have those yellow lights in the background That's getting to the yellow color. Yellow is the color of intellect,
Okay.
logic, teaching. So it creates sort of an intellectual mood too. So I think that's good. And I was thinking about your name earlier, and remember what I was telling you about, I think your spiritual, if you want to say job, or your spiritual thing that you should share with the world is to be logical, intellectual, get a good education, educate yourself about things, learn about things, grow intellectually, and also be very peaceful along that journey. Be very, very balanced, very peaceful. So I think those are the other colors that you've already have some of the yellow there I was talking about.
Okay.
And then green would be very good about your personality. Seems like you're a very peaceful person.
Yeah.
I don't see you as being a very aggressive, mean type person, but I'm picking that up, and I know that from your name.
Yeah.
So it's validating my philosophy to me even more. Whenever, see, I meet and talk to so many people about the colors, and I already know what their personality is going to be, and then I find out if they've cultivated the positive or the negative, and that's one way. To me, I've proven that my philosophy is correct, and then all the data in my book after that. See, the data I have in my book is historical. Facts that you can't change. They've happened.
So the facts that you are talking about, what are the sources of that one?
The sources?
Yeah.
Well, it just were, like I say, if you look and see 95% of your most famous people that won the Nobel Peace Prize in physics or peacemakers are the purple spiritual or the green spiritual. Or the most famous quarterbacks. Let me think about an example. Let's say I could predict 95% of the time on the exact day a major earthquake would happen.
Okay.
Okay? Okay. 95%. And let's say 95% of the time that earthquake happened, a major earthquake on that particular day. That is a sort of evidence I believe I bring forth in my book. 95% of the most famous lawyers have a green letter in the first or last name. And green letters only have 3 letters out of 26 letters in the alphabet. So if 95% of the most famous lawyers happen to have that one of those 3 letters as a first letter in their first or last names out of 26 letters, the math of that is just that's not a coincidence. That's
so in your life,
something to it.
So in your life, do you get any clients or any person that you meet that who wanted to change his name or her name or their business name, and after change that name, her destiny or their destiny would be changed?
Yeah. The name. One of the most, the one I get the most is for women. They want to know what color they should, or their what nickname they should come up with. Well, let me start over a little bit. Okay. A lot of women ask me, well, once we figure out that their name isn't a soulmate.
Excuse me.
You okay?
Yeah.
Is a soulmate connection, a romantic soulmate connection.
Okay.
They say, what should I do? Divorce him? I say, no. Just come up with a nickname.
Oh, okay.
Just come up with a nickname and call yourself, have your husband and your kids or call you that on a regular basis. And then eventually you'll start to acquire new character traits. And so whatever you want to do or be, you can, and let's say your name doesn't say that's a good fit, you could come up with a nickname to acquire that. So what I tell women is just come up with a nickname, and they've done that. I tell them, wear this color. Remember I was telling you earlier about wearing orange will stimulate your wife romantically?
Right.
Okay, I've done that with hundreds of women. They come back to me and say, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. It worked. He wouldn't leave me alone. He's never touched me like that before. He's never wanted to hold my hand like that. He's never been that romantic.
Wow.
So that's some of the data feedback I get. And also I in my book I show about 20 celebrities that have long-lasting romantic relationships. And everybody, well, a lot of people know that celebrity couples don't usually last very long. And you know, celebrities always, they have a lot of, like, let's say handsome leading men, they have a lot of women that want to be with them and that are hitting up on them, and it's kind of hard to stay with one woman. So you know, it doesn't have to be celebrities. It can be just, you know, some man that's very handsome and sexy or whatever, or a woman that's very beautiful. But so I get a lot of feedback that way. And also going for a job interview is very, very important. If you look somewhere in my book and my website, when you go for a job interview, it's very important to know the interviewer's name. Very important. You will be pre-reading.
But sometimes we don't know that who is gonna take an interview.
Well, you try and find out. That's one thing I realize that. But what you do is you ask. You say, "Do you know who is going to be interviewing me?" A lot of times they do know, but when they don't, you try and find out. And and once, go ahead.
This is my personal experience that whenever I go for an interview, that mostly I wear a green color shirt. So at that time, mostly I have selected in most of the companies.
When you go for an interview, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's going to depend on what the interview is about. Are you going for a job? For a job.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you find out what the person's name that's going to interview you is.
That is very difficult sometimes.
Well, like
sometimes whatever the questions are available, they are assigned for the interview.
You got to try your best.
Yeah.
If you know my system and you memorize it, at least maybe when you go for that job interview, at least let's say you go into the office and the receptionist is there, you could ask, what is the person's name? I want to address them correctly, and you can maybe get the name. But let's say you know the name. Okay. Let's use the purple spiritual person again. Person whose first or last name is BIPNW. Let's say the person's name is William. Okay, not only is it a purple spiritual person, he's going to be a purple mental center. That I, soft sounding I, and the second letter is mental center color, and his spiritual creative center is the purple. Remember, I was telling you, purple spiritual people are very image conscious, very detail oriented. They want loyalty. They want someone that's going to come to work and be there every day, and also very detail oriented. Remember, I was saying purple people are very detail oriented. I would go in, and this William that I'm going to be interviewing with, I would go in and say, I'm a very detailed person. I'm very loyal. I come to work all the time. I realize that you're probably very conscious of your company's image, and I will do my best to help you create a very good image of your company. And also your company being very dignified, very detail oriented for whatever service or product you're selling or have for sale. So this is going to press him, because that's the way a purple spiritual person thinks. So he's going to say, I like this person. That's the way I think. So once you know a person's name, you can pre-read their mind. If I were going to you for a job interview, I would be saying I'm very friendly. I'm very, very positive. I'm very educated. Or I would maybe say, let's say I don't have training in a certain area of what you're looking for. I'll say, I'm willing to go in there and learn, get educated on it. I'll take whatever courses, I'll get educated on it. And then I'd also talk about your green personality traits of being very balanced, very poised. I'll be very fair with everyone, your customers. And these things you'll say, I kind of like that. So in some cases, you may not have as many qualifications as another person that comes for the job interview, but what you say to the person that's interviewing, that's going to maybe hire you, it's going to give you some extra points with them.
Right. Agree. I'll keep in that mind. I'll keep in mind. So your name affects every single aspect of your life. We really haven't talked about the negative side too much. That is my next question. How about the politician? As you know that Benjamin Franklin, right? The Benjamin Franklin, how his whole life started with, and how he became the president, right? So according to his name, that he is already the mindset, and his name become a very famous for the president. Why his life is so struggle?
Okay, my dog barked out. Could you say that again? Can you repeat that?
So I'm talking about the politician, right? Now the Benjamin Franklin, right? Now, as you know that his life is full of struggles after he become the president. So now, as you say that the name defines the energy, that why that persons have faced so many struggles after that he become the president.
Well, I'm not sure exactly what you're saying, but as far as struggles go, they say that's where we learn from, is our mistakes, our struggles. But I have Benjamin Franklin in my book. He's a purple and a green spiritual person. And he was a writer. He did a lot of things. But was he a president, though? I don't know if he was a president. Benjamin Franklin. He was more of an inventor. But
maybe I got mistaken.
I think so.
Yeah.
But he is definitely in my book. Again, it depends on whether your personality is in line with what you want to do. What color is affecting you?
Okay.
So, but your name affects every single aspect of your life. What colors to decorate your home to stimulate your seven centers? Who your romantic soulmate should be?
What about the relaxation? That if I need a peaceful, I want to just relax my mind. I need have some room which give me some relaxation only. On the basis of my name, what color should I choose?
What color should you use?
Yeah.
All right. What mood do you want to project?
For the relaxation.
Which one of your 7 centers do you want to stimulate? You said relationship?
No. For myself. For my peace of mind.
For your peace of mind.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Your peace of mind for your moral, your peace of mind for your logic, your peace of mind for organizing your house to feel like your house is neat and organized and clean and organized. The colors are right. To exercise, to let's say a business room where you do all your business. You're romantic, sleeping, like again, I will say, or sexual. You have to determine on what.
Only for my soul and body, nothing else.
Your soul and body.
Yeah.
I would say.
So there is nothing extra thoughts should come into my mind. Only the relaxation.
I would say green is your mind, body, and soul color. It's the third sounding letters in your first and last name are again your vocal center colors, your harmony center of mind, where mind, body, and soul comes together. And so, the third sounding letter in your first name is the M, and say the last name again.
Mystery, M.
Ms.
Mystery.
Yellow. Yeah, like I was telling you earlier, yellow and green affect your character traits in a lot of your 7 centers a lot. So those are the 2 colors that, and I see the yellow behind you there, and I don't know if the side panels of your walls back there are black or green, but they're fair. But yellow and green affects your ability to, especially the green, and then the yellow, to become back into harmony with yourself. And there was something I was going to say. The negative. You said you were going to ask about the negative. Okay. Believe it or not, the reason why the Titanic, this is my belief, the reason why the Titanic was sunk was because of the first letter in the first letter in the last name of the radio operator's name. The reason why James Dean, the actor, was killed in his car wreck was the first letter in his name, the J.
Okay.
The reason why General George Custer got wiped out at Little Bighorn was because of his name. The reason why so many people were killed at Pearl Harbor was because of the radar operator's name. Okay. That's how important people's names are. The reasons why Hitler, Pol Pot, Stalin were able to kill millions of people and be so callous was certain letters and colors in their name. They cultivated the negative side of certain colors versus a positive. So when you give a child his name, once you know their name, remember I was saying earlier, you can find out what their positive character traits are and career choices or just their personalities. And then you also find out the negative that you want to guard them against. You want to try and steer them towards the positive versus the negative. So names are extremely important.
What about the soulmate then? Suppose I'm unmarried. How would I know that the person or the girlfriend I should choose? What would be the best name?
Okay.
That would be for my soulmate.
Okay. Remember I was telling you a little earlier how important the control center color is important in romantic relationships?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay, and I explain this in the book.
Hmm.
And also it's on my video on my website.
Okay.
I highly advise people to watch that video. It's not one of those real long ones that goes on and on and on. Those drive me crazy. I hate those. Watch my video. Okay. When somebody is, let's say, an orange power person, where before a syllable break in their name, like Darren. See where it hangs on R, dare, and then it breaks on the sound.
Okay.
Darren. Okay, before a syllable break in your name are your power colors. It's, remember I telling you the solar plexus, your power, your dignity, your authoritative center? Okay. The letters before your syllable break in your name are your power, authoritative colors. And your personality, that's your personality from that color. Okay. An orange power person, like the name Darren, would affect a woman whose name that doesn't have any orange letters in her name. Remember I told you earlier that the colors that you don't have in your name become your emotional center color, your romantic softness, passive center color. Okay. So if you're an orange power person and you meet a lady that doesn't have any orange letters in her name, like Sally Smith, doesn't have any orange letters, which are D, K, R, and Y, then she would be an orange emotional center person. So this orange power person, this orange authoritative person would have a very strong, powerful effect on her emotions. So that's the way and I show this in my book with those celebrities, how their name, one person will have a very controlling, powerful effect on the other person's name. Now, a lot of people don't like the word control, but if you stop and think about it, you do want to have a very powerful control effect on somebody else's emotions. That's what bonds you and makes it strong. And so another example is, let's use the name Donald. Before the syllable break in his name hangs on the end, Don, and then Don O. Okay. So he's a blue power person. So if he meets a girl, let's use the same name, Sally Smith. She doesn't have any blue letters in her name, which are NGs and U's. Sally Smith, no NGs for you. So she's a blue emotional person, and Donald is a blue power person. So he would have that very powerful controlling effect over her emotions. Now remember, we are hormonal creatures. If you were to describe a human being, a good way of describing them, well, they are these creatures that have creative, imaginative thoughts, some common sense, intellectual. They can sing, they can be harmonious, they can be compassionate. Hey, my dog. They can be compassionate, forgiving. So we are hormonal creatures. We have emotions. We have sexual feelings. We get sexually stimulated. And these are all regulated by our hormones, by our endocrine glands.
Right.
So that's what we are. We're hormonal creatures. So a lot of times when people talk about romantic relationships, they may say, oh, the chemistry between them are really good. Well, they should use add a couple extra words to that. The hormonal chemistry between them is good. So what I describe, I'm glad you brought this up. Here is the exact description of what love is. Are you ready? It's probably the first time you're going to hear it, and a lot of people are ever going to hear it, at least on your show. Is a positive pancreas endocrine gland hormone stimulation. So when you stimulate someone's that emotional center down there at the navel chakra or your pancreas endocrine gland, I believe it makes them release hormones from their emotional center, from their pancreas endocrine gland. And that's what you want to do. You want to stimulate their soulful feelings, their emotional, their romantic feelings. Remember, I called it the contentment, relaxed center. Once you can do that, they're contented with you. They like you emotionally. They want you emotionally.
Okay.
So that's what love really is. It's a positive pancreas endocrine gland stimulation. And going back to my examples, if a Donald happens to be a blue power person, and you get this Sally Smith, who is a blue emotional person, it's going to have a very powerful effect on her releasing those hormones from that romantic emotional center. Okay, and that's what you want. A lot of people get sucked into relationships over sex, money. It doesn't last. It doesn't work. I mean,
do you believe that could be the divorce rate is be linked with the name?
The divorce rate?
Yeah,
absolutely. That's a very good question. I'm glad you brought that up. If you look now, I think last time I looked, it's something like 65% divorce rate. And what it is, for example, a lot of guys are attracted sexually to women. I'm telling women nowadays, do not dress sexy. A lot of women are dressing very sexy now. You go on the internet, all the things they show women, their bodies are exposed in very sexy outfits. Well, I asked women, do you want romance or do you want sex? You know? And most women will admit, well, I want romance. I want a soulmate. I want to be somebody that stimulates me romantically, emotionally. Well, I says, don't dress sexy then, because that's what you're going to draw. A lot of guys don't know this. They'll see a woman and say, she's sexy. I want to.
It shows the lust.
I want to go after her. I want her, as my girlfriend. But he doesn't realize, it's only sex that he's being stimulated. He needs to be stimulated to her emotionally, romantically. Remember, they always use the word soulmate. And those are the ones that are the best, the strongest, that last. Right. A lot of people go and have sex with one another, but after the sex, there's nothing left. Bye-bye, see you later. They want to get out of it. But a lot of times, sex can be very dangerous. You have sex, then you have a kid, but you find out you're not in love.
Correct.
You have a kid, you have an obligation. Now, back in the old days, when a woman or a young lady went out on a date, they had a chaperone go with them, make sure there was no sex, or a woman would get pregnant, and then father would come along and create what they used to call a shotgun wedding. Say, you're going to marry my daughter. You got her pregnant. Too bad,
Yeah, you don't have choice.
Shotgun wedding. Yeah, they used to do that back in the days, because a long time ago, it was harder to live. You go back to 1800s. They didn't have all the modern conveniences and machines that we have nowadays. Life was hard.
Right.
And so people knew a lot more that, a woman having a kid, it's going to be tough life,
Yeah, agree.
So she needs a dependable man to help her out and take care of the kids and everything. So it's very important to find a romantic soulmate, because marriage is even nowadays, marriage is very important.
Right,
I
agree.
mean, do you want to get married and then 3 months later, you guys are going to get a divorce, and then all the lawyers you got to pay and all the money problems and other problems and arguments. I have a friend. He is the commander, the chief of police of a certain town.
Okay.
Okay. His first wife was also a police officer.
Okay.
And I used to run into her at the coffee shop. And I was telling her, hey, she was telling me she was going to engage with my friend. And I was telling you, I analyze people's names just to tell you if they're romantic soulmates. And she wouldn't listen. She said, I already know he's my soulmate. I know it. I said, well, I'm looking at your name and I think you ought to come up with some nicknames. She wouldn't listen to me. They had a big wedding out on a rental boat out in the bay.
Wow.
Out in the San Francisco Bay, right? 2 weeks after the wedding,
Yes.
they were split up. They hated one another. 2 weeks.
They identify their own soul.
She should have listened to me. Hey. So, they got along so bad. They were both in the same police department. That she quit that police department and went to another police. She didn't even want to be around him, and he didn't want to be around her. Okay. Now he's since remarried, and he's got a better name compatibility, and he's been with the new wife a long time. But she would not. The first one would not let me. She says, I already know he's my soulmate. I don't need that advice. Now.
So, did you find any pattern or the combinations of the colors that basically guarantees of the success and happiness, according to your research?
Well, like I said, it's the example I give of each other controlling you emotionally. That's the best bond. I have a lot of women. Their names are compatible to certain centers. Other centers besides the emotional center, and their marriage is fairly good. They've been married a long time. But I tell them, if you really want that deep love, that real deep love, you got to have that situation where you're controlling each other or having a very powerful effect on each other's emotions. You need that, and you'll fall into the deepest love you've ever had. I have situations where women will say, "Well, we've been married 20 years and we get along good. It's okay. It's no problem. But I tell them, okay, try this. I tell them, my phone again. I tell them, I should have shut it off. I tell them, let's make it better. Let's renew your romances. And I tell them first to start off with what I told you. I told you to wear a certain, your wife's orange color, right?
Correct.
Whether it's a peach or coral orange, you find out. I use a Pantone color fan, but start off with that and see how they all automatically start to become more affectionate towards you in an emotional way. And then after that, do the nickname change. And it works so well. So that's the strongest you can get is stimulate the soul, the romantic, the emotional center. So that's the key. And it's not 100% guaranteed.
Yeah.
I'm glad you bring up these questions. You could have a compatible romantic name combination. But remember I talked about environmental effects before.
Right.
Let's say your wife was raised in a very strict Muslim religion, or Catholic, or Hindu, or Sikh, or whatever. And you were raised in another religious or cultural environment. There may be so strong a conflict there that it creates a lot of problems. Or let's say you were born in an environment where your family, everything was real neat and clean and organized. And then your soulmate, your partner, was raised, playing out in the dirt and working on cars, a mechanic or something, and they're not quite as. But the good thing about soulmates, real soulmates from your name, is a lot of times when there's differences, environmental difference or personality differences, you'll be more willing to overlook those differences because you're so attracted to them romantically, emotionally, that you'll be more willing to either overlook them or work with them with changing some of those. And so evidently that example I gave you of my two friends, the 2-week marriage, what happened was they weren't soulmates from their name. So when one of them didn't like something or a habit that the other had, they're not willing to say, okay, I'll work with you or I'll overlook it. They'll say, no, I don't like that. See you later. Get away from it. That's what happens is when you're not romantic soulmates, you won't accept the other person's shortcomings or bad habits.
Right.
You're more willing to work with them on it. So that's very important there.
Okay.
And
I think we have very less time, so let's have the rapid fire round. Only I have the 10 questions that you have to give in the one word answer. I'll give you the options too. So is the name colorology more of a science, art, or intuition?
More of a science, or what was the other part?
Intuition. Science, art, or intuition?
Science. I didn't catch the second part. I'm hearing science.
Science, art, ART, art. So you say science?
Yeah. Okay. I've been asking. I was on the largest talk show in the country, late night talk show. And after the show, he says, this sounds like a science.
Okay.
Yes, it is a science, but it's also spiritual.
Okay.
It's people say, well, okay, you told us how all our name or color relates, but what about the colors? Why do the colors create these character traits?
Correct.
And that's where, well, I can't say for 100% sure. That's where I go into the spiritual. Remember I was talking about heaven?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, why did God make trees? Why did he make apples? Why did he make water? For a reason. There's, whether I know exactly why colors, the orange makes you creative.
Correct, yeah.
Or red makes you more physical. Evidently there's a reason, why these things are made. And I look at it at a spiritual level. God made things for a reason. He made colors for reasons. He made water for a reason, for us to drink and food to eat. And so it's both a science and I believe spiritual.
Okay. If someone wants more success, they should change their name legally, use a nickname or just work harder?
Well, you should always work harder. Remember, I said that Bill Gates and Warren Buffett said the number one word to key is focus. Keep working at it. Repetition. Work harder, and then depending on what career fields you want to succeed in, that's where you have to check out my book, where it'll tell you if you want to become a famous lawyer, you change your name, come up with a nickname where at least a nickname where you're a green spiritual person.
Okay.
Where in my book I show that 90% of your most famous and successful lawyers are green spiritual people whose first or last name start with F, M, or T. Melvin Belli, Thurgood Marshall, Marvin Mitchelson. The list goes on and on and on. So depending on what you want to become successful in, go to my book and it'll tell you.
Okay. Which name color is the best for leadership? Red, blue, or green?
Red, blue, or green for leadership? Well, it all depends on whether they've cultivated the positive or negative side of their trait. Each color has a negative and a positive.
Okay. So what is the pattern that you find that most the peoples are belongs to which color for the leadership?
Well, I've studied most of the presidents have been red spiritual people or green spiritual people. And again, depending on whether they have cultivated the good side or the bad side is going to determine whether they're good or bad presidents. Now, red spiritual people, their good side is to be truthful, compassionate, honest. Green spiritual people, their good side is to be fair, lawful, balanced. Presidents has to balance a lot of things. On the negative side, they can be very callous, very unfair. So it depends on whether you cultivated the positive or negative of the color, and that's going to determine whether they're good. They can be any of the colors could be a good president. Any of the colors could be a bad president. Kind of jokingly, is why are most of the presidents either green or red spiritual people? Well, red spiritual people, the negative is to be dishonest. A lot of people say that's how they got to become presidents, is they lied. They were dishonest. And most as far as career fields, talking about green spiritual people, most of them were lawyers before they become presidents. So, having a lot of knowledge of law is very important when you get into political stuff.
Okay,
so that's another reason why they have become presidents.
Okay, so which name energy is the worst for relationship? Too aggressive, too passive, or too unpredictable?
Well, again, I'm going to have to say it all depends on whether which side of whether they cultivated the positive or the negative. Now, I've got to be honest, I got in a lot of trouble for this. I was asked on that talk show I was telling you about, that very large talk show.
Okay.
I was asked what color type is the worst, basically.
Yeah.
And I really caught a lot of flack for it, but they all can be negative. All the color types can be negative.
Okay, so all colors have positive and negative signs. Yeah.
Now, the ones that I see are getting in the most trouble doing. I'm going to do a thing with the prisons where I'm going to try and get the percentage of the names of people that are going into prison, and I already know what it's going to come up with.
Okay.
But I have to have the document. Green spiritual people are the most unlawful. They get in trouble. On the negative side, green spiritual people can be very callous, very unlawful. They don't care about, they can be very callous to other people's feelings and do some very horrible things. But so the other colors have their negative too. But I would say at this point, I would be willing to bet most of the people that are in jails, the biggest percentage are green spiritual people, or people that have their names are kind of dominated. A lot of their 7 centers are dominated with the green letters.
Okay. So if someone keeps failing in the business, should they rebrand with the better name, stick with what they have, or focus on something else?
If they're failing in business?
Yeah.
I think there's several answers to that. There's a saying that one person said, if things aren't working out right for you and you keep trying the same thing over and over, try something different.
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily mean try a different career, just try to do it differently.
Approach, yes. Try different approach.
And also you have to be honest with yourself and maybe get some opinions from other people. Say somebody wants to be a singer. Well, I've seen people that, I think we've all seen people that go on Americans Got Talent or something, where they're not a good singer, but they think they are, but other people don't. So they have to get an honest opinion from other people, whether they're good at or not. Or so, and there's is there a demand for what they're trying to sell? There's all kinds of things. The present time, let's say music. What are all the kids listening? I've had older people ask that want to be singers and musicians, and they want to become very famous and sell a lot of records or whatever. And I said, well, nowadays all the kids that buy records or music are into rap music. I mean, you're going to have a limited amount of older people that, so, is there a market for you or not? There's all kinds of things as far as if you're going to be successful. But if things aren't going right, and there's actually a company, I had a company look at the cover of my book. I had 2 or 3 different covers of my book. And I wanted to find out which one that people think was the best.
Okay.
And I think there's a company called Pick For You, where they have 100 people go and they looked at my cover of my book. And 65% of them picked the cover of my book now. And maybe I think it was 30% picked the second one, and a smaller amount the third one. So there are, sometimes you have to get the opinion of other people and find out what the truth is of, which way you should go. And then again, if things aren't working at all and you get all these other factors saying, no, it's not going to work, people aren't into this anymore, or, it doesn't work, well, yeah, then you need to change.
Yeah. Okay. Got your point. Now, which type of names hold the most power? Short and sharp, like Elon, or traditional and strong, for example, William and Catherine? Unique and mysterious, for example, Zendaya, Drake?
Who was the last one?
Unique and mysterious.
Oh, okay. Well, the most powerful is purple.
Okay.
Mysterious is black.
Black, okay.
Yeah. we've heard the saying. Remember, I was talking about black being the most earthiest.
Yeah.
Black consumes 98% light. It only reflects 2%. It's very mysterious, very quiet, very secretive.
Okay.
What about when you see images of Halloween? You know, the black witch,
Black
the black
one,
cat, and so dark colors are more mysterious, and black is probably the most mysterious. It's secretive. Black, like I say, black is consuming. It's not outward
reflecting. Yeah.
It's not reflective. A white is very reflective, very giving, very outward going, whereas black is more secretive, pulling in. Mysterious. Okay. So
if two people have the same name, will they be similar? Yes, no, or somewhat?
Somewhat.
Okay.
They have the ability to both have a lot of the same talents and character traits, but again, what would affect the difference is their environmental factors, who their parents were, whether they're tall or short, or had a good education or didn't have a good education. So that's where it'll make some differences.
Okay. One thing people should never do when naming their child: follow trends blindly, ignore how the name sounds, or pick a name without meaning.
What's the most important thing in picking out a name for a baby?
Yeah.
It all
mostly follow the trends. Mostly I found.
follow the trend.
Yeah, trends, trending names.
No.
Or fancy name.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that. I hate trending stuff. I see a lot of things where a paint company say, "Oh, this is the color of the month. This color green is the color of the year. This is the most popular color now." That's terrible. You want to pick the colors to decorate your home that affects you. What we're talking about today is how those colors affect, whether you want to relax, whether you want to be more creative, imaginative, more soulful. So we're individuals, and don't go for any trends. Somebody could say that Name Colorology, my thing, is a trend. A thing could be trendy, but the bottom line, is it correct or not? Does it work? Does it work for you?
I don't think so.
And trends, I hate it when those paint companies say, "Oh, this is another word," or "This is the most relaxing color this year." No, not everybody's going to relax to the same color. It all depends on your name. Here again, with all the data in my book, that's the most important thing to look at. Is does it work? Is it correct? Another thing is, a lot of people ask me, "Well, what degree do you have? Where'd you go to college?" A lot of people are more concerned about things like that, where you got a degree, where you went to school. And I love to tell them, I don't have any degree. There is no degree for Name Colorology anyway in the colleges. But I tell them, I'm very glad, or they'll say, "How much education you have?" I almost want to say, I didn't finish 8th grade. And that kind of stuns them. And I say, what matters is whether my philosophy is correct or not.
Correct, yeah.
Is the data that I'm producing correct? Does it work? It doesn't matter whether I went to Harvard or Stanford. And what I'm saying, is it correct? So that's what matters. Bottom line, does it work?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm done with all the questions, and it was a really wonderful conversation with you.
Okay.
Today I really learned a lot about my name, my relations, my house.
Yeah,
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 thank you for that, providing all the information.
yeah. Well, try it out. You'll find that it works.
Yeah, definitely.
It really works.
Yeah.
And anybody that wants to know about their name, just go to namecolorology.com.
Yeah.
Like I say, don't just do colorology. Name, Name, colorology, all.com. And they can check out my book. And also I do consultations. I really advise people to have a one-time consultation and then also use the book as reference. Let's say you were to have my book and you forgot some of the stuff I told you today. Well, then you can go to my book as reference. Let's say you meet somebody that you might want to go into business with, or somebody you're going for a job interview and you want to know what to say to them. You have my book to go to reference so you don't forget. So I advise people to get my book. It's not expensive. And to do a one-time consultation. Now, I have consultations for 4 different things, basically.
Okay.
Career, if somebody wants to know what their career should be, or who their romantic soulmate should be, or what colors to stimulate their wife or girlfriend or romantically, what colors to decorate their home, or what colors to wear. That's another thing. You go to my website, you click on the classic styles of my models, and you'll see them wearing their different colors. Their romantic center colors, their corporate business colors, their sexy colors. So I've broken it up where, let's just say you want about career, $40.
Okay.
Let's say you want to know what colors to decorate your home over, $40. If you want all 4 of them, it's $160. Now you can't get that anywhere. You go hire an interior designer and see if you can get away with $40.
Right.
Let's say you go a career consultant. You can't beat the prices that I'm offering.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
and the knowledge you get. With the consultations, you're going to get about 40 years of knowledge in his head,
Yeah.
versus somebody that just reads the books and kind of memorizes it all. I've got it up here so many times. So that's why I tell them to do the consultation if they can.
Yeah, definitely.
So I want to thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Okay. And you have a wonderful day, and keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a good job.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.